Hello everybody, welcome to Wilderspool Stadium for the annual pre-season charity game between the Warrington Club and the Wigan Club. I'll just run through the Warrington team quickly. One change today, we've got 4 subs as opposed to 2 in the league. Warrington are lining up Lee Penny, Rob Myler, Paul Williamson, Tony Thornley, Mark Forster, Kelly Shelford, Kevin Ellis, Gary Chambers, Andy Bennett, Roland Phillips, Bob Jackson, Gregory, Mark Hilton, John Thursfield and Steve Griffiths. I've got with me, made the trek over from Central Park, John Dermott, who will now give you the rundown on the Wigan team.
Thank you very much, Bill. I like the way you referred to this game as a charity game. Over the last few seasons, there hasn't been a tremendous amount of charity shown by either of these two teams. The Wigan side today looking a very strange outfit due to injuries and one or two things that we may not know about. At full-back is Joe Lydon, Robinson at number 2, Bell at number 3, probably playing his last season for Wigan, Panaper at 4, and a new player, Ellison, out on the left wing. Johnson, another newcomer, is at standoff, and Crompton, who was bought from Warrington last season and is now hoping to make his name with Wigan this season. He got a bit of a struggle with Sean Edwards, but Sean Edwards is missing through a back injury, so Martin Crompton is at scrum half. Once again, Skerritt is injured and Gildart comes in at number 8 with Martin Dermott at 9 and Cassidy coming in at 10. Wigan missing Andy Platt there, badly injured at the end of last season. In the second row, Betts and Barry John Mather, who had a great game last week in the 7s, and the newcomer who had a good game here at the end of the last season, Andy Farrell at number 13. The Wigan subs: 14 is Stevenson, 15 is Hall, 16 is Horton and 17 is Craig, and both sides are now out on the field ready to start this pipe opener. The Warrington ground looking in excellent condition. Both teams have been out warming up, and of course we're a game with a lot of subs, and I've no doubt that the coaches will be watching this very carefully before they pick the sides in earnest. Wigan taking on Hull in the opening game next week. And is it Wakefield, Bill?
Thanks, John. Yeah, first team up here at Wilderspool next week in the Stones Bitter Championship will be Wakefield Trinity. John's just mentioning to you there some of the changes in the Wigan team. 1 or 2 faces in the Warrington team who will be hard pushed to keep the jerseys when the league programme opens, so they've got to play out of the skins. Forget the charity stuff. Once the whistle goes, it's all on. Today's referee is Sylvester Cummings, who's come across from Widnes. So Warrington finished 8th in the Stones Bitter Championship last season. Wigan, of course, in their usual top spot, now under the leadership of a different coach. Could be the end of an era, could be the start of an era. Warrington missing today their star player Jonathan Davis. Greg Mackey not on show, playmaker with a leg injury. So like I've said, there's plenty to play for. As you can see in the centre of the pitch, the toss-up has been taken. Warrington have elected to kick, which will give possession to the Wigan club. So here's John.
Thank you very much. And I think Jackson and Sanderson have switched numbers, haven't they? I think Jackson's at 12. Yeah, not the one needs a number on Jackson's back to recognise him. He's fairly well outstanding with his wonderful head of hair there, easily picked out. So the game starts then with Warrington from left to right, giving Wigan the first possession. No doubt a lot of these younger players will be all keyed up trying to fight their way into first team consideration. John Dorey seeing for the first time 13 players out on the field in the serious mood, and Wigan get the first touch right on their own try line. Mather coming charging forward, seemed to put a lot of weight on. I believe he's been in the wrestling gym in Welly. Wigan with the ball, stuffed up the jerseys in these opening minutes, coming on it one at a time, coming in driving hard, and they made a lot of ground as they battered away from their own try line. And it's still one man at a time as they force their way up to 10 metres from the halfway line. Martin Dermott from behind to play the ball, giving a little dummy, and we're up to the halfway as they go down in the last tackle. Wigan whipping it back to Joe Lydon, and Joe Lydon hoisting it, coming to Warrington.
Thanks, John. Warrington in possession then. Rob Myler wearing 2, tackle just outside the quarter. Sam Panaper involved in the tackle. Here's Lee Penny feeding Kevin Ellis. Ellis looking for runners. Here's Shelford in his international berth at stand-off. Ian Gildart in the tackle. Andy Bennett going away from dummy half. Lots of feeling between the two teams already. It's a real game. There's a big run midfield. Good yards picked up there. It's Gary Chambers, former Kells player, will play the ball. Andy Bennett acting half. Ball's coming our way. Commentators wrong as usual. Huge tackle supplied there. Andrew Farrell, one of his specials, gets a round of applause. Here's Shelford, goes to the boot. Ball dips in front of us. It's in possession of the Wigan club.
And Ellison, first time on the first team. Paniper waiting attacked in half-back. Paniper running wide across the field. Straightens up and Jackson buries him. Martin Dermott waiting behind to play the ball. That's Cassidy, but he misses Cassidy out. Mather, very tall, lanky forward, trying to batter his way through. And there's a lot of brute force being used at the moment. And a beautiful low tackle puts Dennis Betts down. Wigan lined out very deeply as they move the ball well along the line. Mather again trying to crash his way through, and there's some good tackling being done by Warrington, and they put Wigan down in the last tackle. Crompton change direction, hoists it high. They're all underneath it. Penny coming up, drops the ball, but he regains possession.
Clever kick there from Martin Crompton, putting Lee Penny under bags of pressure. However, Kevin Ellis comes away, disappears under a two-man tackle involving Andrew Johnson, wearing 6, name I've not been familiar with. Here's a run for the quarter. Gary Sanderson makes the quarter successfully. Cassidy involved in the tackle. Here's Shelford. Chambers. Chambers almost busting the defensive line. So play 35 metres out. Here's Ellis again. Feeds Bob Jackson. Jackson played for a lot of last season with an injury. Good to see him back, looking fit and fresh. There's a kick for touch from Andy Bennett. Will give us our first scrum of the afternoon.
Well, the forwards sorting each other out. Both packs trying to gain some supremacy, and both sides have played out the full 6 tackles each time they've had the ball and not been able to make very much from it from the kick. And it will be Crompton to feed the first scrum right on the halfway line, out on the Wigan right wing. Robinson coming into the extra standoff position, cutting in from the wing. Very strong and very elusive, Jason Robinson is a half-back really. Wigan now moving the ball across the field. Paniper did well to take that, and he's bounced down. Good tackle by Williamson, buried him. Wigan going inside Ellison, who I believe scored a lot of tries in Graham West's A team last season. Dermott used a little dart from behind to play the ball, trying to draw the players in. Neither side cracking the defences at the moment as Crompton. Wigan moving the ball out well. Paniper flings it into touch. Anywhere pass, and it rolled over the touchline, and so it will be Ellis to feed the scrum.
Thanks, John. Wigan moving the ball well there through the 3 quarters. Unfortunately, nobody was on the end of the pass. Meanwhile, Kevin Ellis makes a scrum count 1 apiece. Bit of vocals coming in from the Fletcher end there. Bit of cheek round the back of the scrum maybe. Here's Bob Jackson. Head down charging, the ball's coughed up. Ian Gildart is in possession. Mr. Cummings has blown up. Will award a knock on there to the benefit of the Warrington club. Should make the scrum count 2-1. A lot of these players with an eye on next week, hoping to keep the first team jerseys. Kelly Shelford, the Supporters Club Player of the Year at Wilderspool Stadium this season. Kelly Shelford, congratulations to him. Sanderson came second in that supporters poll. Former Blackbrook player, Gary Sanderson playing the ball there. Here's Ellis once again. Gary Chambers looks for support, finds Ellis. Dermott's got him. Ellis unloads great style. Paul Cullen, 13 years, first teamer. What an achievement. Goes down in the tackle. Dean Bell involved in the tackle. Will be playing for the Auckland Warriors next season. Here's Roland Phillips. Roland had a successful spell on loan at Oldham, now back at Wilderspool Stadium. Here's Bennett. Kevin Ellis. Shelford, long ball. Williamson. Warrington moving well. Lee Penny takes a great tackle from Paniper. Silky skills there, good handling, good running. Ellis once again at the hub of everything. Loses possession. Match official spots it. Will be a scrum down for the Wigan club.
Well, it was on the last tackle, so the ball's been handed over onto Gildart. Wigan just short of the halfway line. Martin Dermott out to Crompton. Crompton who's taken over from Edwards as first pass from the play of the ball. Dean Bell, and there's no way through. There's a lot of energy and a lot of commitment. and a lot of endeavour going in, but there's more brute force than there is guile and skill at the moment. The handling is good, the running into it, the commitment is there as Crompton now moving across field. Betts can't take it cleanly, knocks on. A little struggle on the ground for the ball. The knock-on will be given, and it will be Warrington to feed the scrum.
Well, our match official there spotting the knock-on. For me, he could have allowed play to carry on. Warrington were in possession. However, Ellis makes a scrum count 3-1 in favour of Brian Johnson's men. Ball is midfield. There's Williamson taking the tackle from Joe Lydon. Shelford feeds Sanderson. Ball is 8 metres inside the Wigan half then. Still no score. We're now in the 7th minute. 10 metres inside Wigan's half. Warrington stacking up deep right. Here's Ellis. Cullen unloads for Lee Penny. Lee Penny takes the tackle. Andrew Faddle on the tackle there. Mr. Cummins pulling back the Wigan defenders. Here's Roland Phillips. It's kick time already. 6 tackles got through amazingly quickly there. Look for the kick from Kelly Shelford. Chips through. Mr. Cummins gives play on, so Wigan have possession.
Joe Lydon taking it in the full-back position. Wigan having to run it out from acting half-back. Neither side really got into their opponent's 25 yet. It's between the halfway line and the 25s, and it's put teams finding the feet, trying to get some combination together as Cassidy goes driving in, well taken by Bob Jackson. Good tackling. There's a lot of extremely good tackling going on this afternoon. Very efficient, very low. Crompton putting the kick behind the defence, rolling towards the Warrington line, and being taken by Warrington.
So Rob Myler then, 10 metres out, takes a hit from Dennis Betts, goes down in a tackle, end-to-end stuff, fairly tense stuff. Here's Lee Penny. Both of these teams have a lot of pride. Nobody wants to lose this game, which is being shown in the play. Here's Gary Chambers. Chambers takes a huge shot there. Andrew Faddle on defence. Ball's coming inside again our way. Here's Sanderson. Sanderson will play the ball for Bennett. Andy Bennett feeds Kevin Ellis. Here's Shelford looking for half a gap. None there. Loose ball thrown. Possession for Wigan.
Well, that ball was thrown away. Nice present to Wigan as Johnson takes it onto Dennis Betts. Dennis Betts trying to force his way up to the 20-metre line, and he's unceremoniously dumped down as 3 defenders come into him hard, come into him cleanly. Panifer having a run from acting half-back, but there's no way through for him. Right in front of the post, 20 metres out. Wigan turning and twisting, can't get rid of the ball as they go down on the 10-metre line. Crompton doing a little dummy in a rate, held in the last tackle, 5 metres out, loses possession. Now who's the referee going to give the put into? And he's bringing them back to the 10-metre line for the scrum. It's Warrington's put in.
Well, a bit of a let-off there, John, in the Warrington defence. Super tackle from Roland Phillips. I thought Crompton was away. However, we will have the 5th scrum of the afternoon. Scrum goes 4-1 in favour of the home team. Surging run from the base of the scrum. That's Paul Williamson. Finished off the season grand style last year for the Warrington club. Finds himself in the team this week. Meanwhile, 23 metres out, a big tackle results in Andy Bennett feeding Gary Sanderson. Ian Gildart wearing 8 involved in the tackle. So Bennett feeds inside. It's Roland Phillips, former Neath player. Andy Bennett acting half. Warrington with personnel left and right. Ball comes right. It's Chambers. Crompton involved in the tackle. It's kick time already. 6 tackles gone in a flash. Ellis goes to the boot. Chips towards Robinson.
Robinson just outside his own 20 metres, and it was well followed up by Jackson. No room at all to move. And this game is being played very tight around the play of the balls. We're not getting an awful lot of fluid football. It's not getting out to the wings. Crompton coming through without the ball end. And both defences got a vice-like grip on the opposition. And there's a good break by Wigan. They came surging through then, but desperate last-ditch tackling stopped it out to Crompton. Crompton handing it on, long wide pass, and Warrington have moved up well and pushed Wigan back and taken them in the 6th tackle. And there's the kick being charged down, comes back to Wigan. Referee waves the tattles off and it's back to 1. And once again, Barry John Mather goes surging forward, disappears under these vertically striped jerseys of Warrington. Cassidy easily put down on the 20-metre line. Dermot, a long testing pass. Wigan move it out. Bell showed a lot of power, gets his pass in. Warrington coming in quickly, and there could well be a penalty here for lying on in the tackle. So chance for Wigan. They've not got Botica to put the ball over. Referee having a little word there. Wanted them to get off a little more quickly. Reckoned there was a bit of holding down, signalling quite graphically that there was holding down in the tackle, and it will be Crompton. Originally a Wigan lad, signed on for Warrington. Wigan paid 60-odd thousand for him at the beginning of last season. He didn't get many appearances. Kicked the ball backwards, giving Wigan a little more room to move in. About 12 metres out, and it's head down and bash, trying to crash the way through. Warrington are having none of it. They're coming in very steadily into the tackle. Crompton, short pass. And Warrington defence coming in hard, coming out quickly, meeting Wigan as they come onto the ball, close to the line. And Wigan trying to crash the way over, and Mather held just short. A metre or so out, Wigan right underneath the post, on the line. Long pass, and there's nobody out in the Wigan right centre position. Terrible line out by Wigan. There was 40 yards between the man playing the ball and the one next to him, and Wigan are trying to clatter the way over, and down they go in the last tackle, right underneath the post. Will they kick, or will they try and move, put a little grubber kick in, and it comes to Warrington.
Well, Roland Phillips is doing everything correctly this afternoon. Turned up in the right place there after the kick from Martin Crompton. So we have Lee Penny, 9 metres out from his own line. Warrington moving the ball smartly. There's Thornley. Thornley well met. Andrew Farrell involved in the tackle again. No quarter being asked or given. There's a run from dummy half. That's Andy Bennett. Will find himself regularly in the first team this year, I think, in the absence of Dwayne Mann. However, Jackson feeds Shelford. Well, the ball's gone to ground there. Our match official has whistled. That's the second penalty of the afternoon for the Warrington club. Injury to a Warrington player. I'm not sure if it's Cullen or Williamson. It's Williamson, I'm advised, from my left. A new innovation here at Wilderspool this season. If you're watching rugby league for the first time, if your children are aged under 16, one £10 payment, have a think about that. You can come and watch all games at Wilderspool for the rest of the season. Just phone the club, ask to speak to somebody about the Wolfpack, and your children have got somewhere good to go on a Sunday afternoon. So Tony Rothwell handing out the drinks amongst the Warrington players. Rob Myler will kick at us. Here's one for Stewart to catch, maybe. No, it's over the top of us. I'll just have a quick look at the stopwatch. Now in the 15th minute, no score yet at Wilderspool Stadium. Here's Ellis. Roland Phillips feeds Ellis again. Martin Crompton up quickly in the line there, snuffing out that move. Farrell involved in the tackle. Here's Bennett. Big run midfield. So Bennett throws left for Gary Chambers. The ball's at the half. Here's Ellis. Shelford. There's Tony Thornley, has half a gap. Picking up 12 good metres running there. Dennis Betts. Super tackle. It's Lee Penny. There's Kevin Ellis. It's with Paul Williamson. Cuts inside. Crompton's got him. It's kick time. Look for the midfield bomb. Here's Shelford. Lifts the ball. That's well up into the ozone layer. Big pressure applied. Well, match official quite correct there. Makes a penalty count 2-1. Penalty for the Wigan club, John.
Yes, first time that they've really got near the Wigan line, and unfortunately for Warrington to give away a penalty. Territorially, Wigan have had most of it, but the Warrington defence has stood up to the task magnificently, and they've held Wigan well. Warrington had quite a lot of the ball. They've had the advantage in the scrums. They've been feeding the scrums, so it must have been Wigan who've been giving the knock-ons, etc. And once again, it's head down, try and bash your way through, and Chambers going in well into the tackle. Dermot moving it across field. Wigan struggling the way. Almost up to the halfway line as Dermot out to Crompton. Crompton moving it out wide. Wigan bringing it back into the centre onto Dean Bell. Dean Bell trying to drag them along with him. Martin Dermot from behind to play the ball. Little short pass onto Cassidy. And there's some good tackling, some good sound, solid defence. It's well organised as the ball's flung back to Joe Lydon. Hesitates a little bit, puts a long, awkward kick which has to be trapped. And Warrington have it, 10 metres out.
Thanks, John. Rob Myler taking the tackle. We're approaching quarter time. Still no score here at Wilderspool Stadium. That's Lee Penny. Tackled at the quarter. Dean Bell involved. Here's Roland Phillips. Player whose future was uncertain at Wilderspool last season. Having a big afternoon this far in. Here's Chambers. Chambers takes a tackle. Dennis Betts wearing 11. The ball is spilled. Bit of bagatelle. Match official gives play on. Ellis throws out a long looping pass. Mark Forster playing the ball. Here's Andy Bennett. Tackle at the half. Big tackle coming in there. It's Jason Robinson getting a round of applause from the travelling support. Shelford feeds. Kevin Ellis goes to the boot. Kicks successfully for touch. It's a bit of a chess game at the moment, John. Who do you think's going to break the deadlock?
Well, both defences really on top, and that was a nice grubber kick through and puts Warrington in a good attacking position, but unfortunately for them it will be Wigan to feed, and the odds are that Wigan will get the ball from the scrum. And sure enough, Jason Robinson coming in between the scrum half and the standoff. Doesn't get very far before he's bounced down. Once again we're going to get the graft as Dean Bell gains his 10 metres. Quick play the ball by Wigan, getting it moving. Crompton holding it, Crompton dummying, and nobody buys it as he's forced back into the middle of the field. Martin Dermot from behind to play the ball, coming down the narrow side. Dummy from Wigan. Gildart looking for support. Cassidy from behind to play the ball to Crompton. Crompton moving it cross field. Johnson turning it back into the middle. And both sides working extremely hard but not being able to crack the defences. There's a kick behind the defence and straight to Warrington.
Mark Foster there. Looked like he was fielding at silly mid-wicket. Took the ball, great style. Warrington in possession then. There's a bit of a kick at the play the ball. If ever a rule needs changing in the laws of rugby league, that's the one. Meanwhile, big tackle breaking out. I believe it's Bob Jackson underneath Dean Bell there. Gains going on. Ellis feeds Chambers. Chambers hits hard midfield. Barry John Mather involved. Well, it's time we had some sort of score here at Wilderspool. There's a bit of a juggle pass. Gary Sanderson in possession. There's Roland Phillips picking up good meters, still going. Charges straight into the Wigan defensive line. Neither teams look to launch any backs at the moment. We've got a bit of a social gathering off the ball. Meanwhile, Lee Penny in possession. Penny well caught. Dennis Betts, one of the finest players ever to go on a rugby league field, in my view, on the tackle. It's kick time for the Warrington club, 50 metres from where they need to be. Bit of unrest going round the terraces now. There's an intelligent midfield kick. Joe Lydon comes and takes. No, he doesn't. The ball's released. It's with Rob Myler. Myler's outstripping Panaper. Copy boot tackle Sam Panaper. I believe the Warrington player's got a foot in touch. Our touch judge has come onto the pitch. Not absolutely sure what's been given. I'll just bring in John.
Well, it's very difficult for us to see what's happening down this touch line, but that was a bad mistake made by Joe Lydon. This is where Wigan are going to miss Stephen Hansen, who's gone to, and I think it must have gone, touch a tap out from Wigan's 20-metre line, and that was the first sign we saw of a chance of a try. Myler going well for the corner there, and the referee having a little word with two of the players reading the riot act. They probably all heard it all before. Nothing new about it. That'll be Martin Dermot with the tap penalty. Tap from the 20 metres. And it's a head down and bash. Wigan coming round the narrow side. Gildart with a ball tucked under his arm. No intention of passing. Once again we come round the narrow side. Warrington coming in, meeting Wigan well. Jackson doing a lot of work. Dermot now moving it across. And there's a lot of effort going into this, but it's a little bit of guile that we're going to need. A little touch of the smarty pants to break these defences down. And of course both sides are umpty subs this afternoon, so there'll be a lot of changes as it comes to the Warrington fullback.
Yes, Great Britain under-21 international Lee Penny attacking the quarter. I can see on the far side of the pitch 3 Warrington substitutes warming up. Rob Myler going the closest we'd had there to a try in the 20th minute. Huge Martin Dermot tackle on Kelly Shelford there. Lots of grit and determination this far in. It's Mark Forster. The crowd all quiet at Wilderspool Stadium, awaiting our first score. There's another penalty for the Warrington club. Penalties go 3-1. Mr. Cummings on top of the job. I'm looking at the boards opposite. 8, 9 and 12 will be leaving. So quickly, that's Chambers, Bennett and let's have a look. Bob Jackson going for a sit down. Trying to figure out who's coming on. Well, we've got Mark Hilton, John Thursfield, and the long-awaited and much-deserved return of former Great Britain skipper Mike Gregory. He's been out of the game for 2 years, trained like a Trojan on his own on wet nights at Wilderspool, running around the pitch. Well, he's back in the first team, and it's good to see him back. Meanwhile, we're still waiting the first score. Warrington stacking up well right. Ball comes in field, that's Ellis. Phillips. Bit of a mix-up round the back, results in Kelly Shelford. Here's Tony Thornley, former Woolston Rover. Thornley making inroads, so once again we've got Mike Gregory, John Thursfield and Mark Hilton wearing 14, 15 and 16 on the pack. Here is Mark Hilton, the man who will let nobody down. Star of the academy team that won the Challenge Cup at their level last season. Roland Phillips goes central. Martin Dermot, Dennis Betts and Joe Lydon combine on defence. So 10 metres for Warrington to go. Here's Ellis. Pull it past, that's Kelly Shelford. Well, a bit of basketball breaks out. Close call for the Wigan defence there, John.
Yes, they had a big overlap out on that left wing. Now Wigan looked very thin in defence there. Got a little bit of mishandling, let them down at the vital moment. And Warrington coming into this game a lot more territorially, as Wigan now back in their own 10-metre zone. And once again, it's not going out to the stand-off half from the scrum. It's Jason Robinson who's taking it. And Wigan coming away from acting half-back. Good strong running. Clear the 20-metre line. Dermot coming up. Bell come to acting half-back. Cassidy easily put down by the Warrington defenders. Dermot as Crompton first pass. Crompton just handing it on. Mather trying to batter his way through. Goes down in the 6 tackle. Long one back to line. Line the hoist a high one.
Yeah, 6 tackles being used up, and then we're getting the kick to the opposing fullbacks and wingers. Get to see anything outrageous tried by the 3 quarters and the backs of either team. Here's Lee Penny going central, well hit in the tackle. Mike Cassidy. Warrington with personnel left and right. Ball goes left, that's Mark Hilton. Dermot on the tackle. The field now littered with many internationals on both sides. Only a matter of time before we get an exciting try. Here's Ellis, feeds Paul Cullen. Well, Mike Gregory takes a bit of a shot off the ball. Roland Phillips has found himself charging upfield on the left wing. Warrington starting to buzz then. Bit of excitement coming into the game. Ellis midfield. Dean Bell puts a stop to that. It's kick time then for Brian Johnson's men in their new blue and yellow stripes. Look for Shelford. Well, there's a knock on. Match official has not missed it. Back to John.
Knocked on the final tackle, so the handover. Both sides needing someone with a little bit of the divine spark to bring a little touch of genius into this, because both sides cancelling each other out at the moment. Panaper in among the forwards. Wigan line very flat in tack, and there's the dummy, and at last the break is on to Dennis Betts. Dennis Betts has plenty of people to beat, and he can't get round with the defence. Covered well, assembled together, but that was the first really clean break by Wigan, and they've a big overlap if they can move the ball way out. And Wigan are over. Wigan have got the first one. Barry John Mather opening the score for Wigan after about 27 minutes play. Eventually the break came down the middle. The first break came on, and there was a lovely run by Dennis Betts down the centre of the field, and Wigan had a massive overlap out on the right, and Big John Barry Mather over on the far side had the strength and had the power to finish off cleanly to give Wigan the first 4 points. Well, it's been even Stevens so far. The defences have been coming in hard, and then that was the first clean break by Wigan, and it resulted in 4 points for them. Crowd were getting a little bit frustrated that the gaps weren't being made, the breaks weren't coming, but eventually the first one came to Wigan, and Wigan got the 4 points on the board. And this should be possession back to Wigan as Warrington restart. A short one, a high one. And that's good tackling and determined running. Dennis Betts, and the referee not happy with that tackle, will give Wigan a penalty. I don't think it was malicious. I think it was a little bit of mistiming. Andrew Farrell, very young boy to be playing first team football, came into the first team towards the back end of last season. He can kick, he can run, he can tackle, he's an all-round footballer. Wigan on the halfway line then. First tackler taking the ball on, trying to draw the defences in. Crompton waiting for it, and he gets it onto Cassidy, and Cassidy decides he'd play them on his own, and he's hurled back by the defenders. Little switch by Crompton moving it out. Wigan forcing their way remorselessly down the field, out to Crompton moving it out wide, a short one for Wigan, and Warrington come in and push Wigan back in possession. Wigan persevering down that right wing, sidestepping the way inside, almost up to the 20-metre mark, go down in the sixth tackle. Little kick coming here, a high up and under, a big bomb on that, it's in the in-goal area. Can he take it cleanly? Takes it cleanly, so it's back to the 20-metre mark.
Thanks, John. Well, we've had the first try of the game. Lee Penny there, averting the second try of the game. Here is Lee Penny in possession. Runs past Mike Cassidy, takes a tackle of Dennis Betts. We have a score reading 4 points to 0. There's a penalty. Penalties go 4-2 in favour of the home team. Crowd beginning to warm up now, getting involved in the game. Rob Myler will kick for touch. Have a quick look at the watch. 10 minutes then to the half-time hooter. Both coaches will be reasonably pleased, I suppose, with what's been on offer up to now. Need a bit more attack. Here's Mark Hilton. Big run from Hilton there, picking up 8 metres running. Brought to an end by Betts. Kevin Ellis, who was receiving attention a moment ago, feeds Roland Phillips. Needs 2 forwards to put Phillips down. Here's Gary Sanderson, ex-Blackbrook amateur. Attacking the quarter line, gets there successfully. Thursfield throws left. Running move works, switch play. Here's Williamson. Looks for support, gets it from Cullen. Paul Cullen used to play in the centres. Excellent rugby league from the Warrington club there, keeping the ball moving. John Thursfield has made a run from acting half. So the play's right deep down in the far corner. It's a turnover, possession for Wigan, John.
Wigan with the backs to the try line, and Warrington trying to force them over the try line. They're coming in hard. It's just inches out into the field of play. Jason Robinson come over from the far wing. He's so strong, he's very good from behind to play the ball. He's so elusive, he's bringing the ball away well. Mather's thrown the ball away, this could well be a try. And that was a wild pass by Wigan. and there was no cover, and now the referee's been knocked over. And there's a lot of feeling in this game at the moment. And Wigan now, with an overlap as they come away down this wing. A dummy from Panepa, and Panepa getting a lot of ground there. Cassidy coming over to the play of the ball. Cassidy moving it inside. Crompton putting a kick behind the defence for the Warrington fullback.
Well, we're getting a bit of excitement all of a sudden at Wilderspool Stadium. Lee Penny breaks the quarter and loads Matt Foster. Not the best of passes for Foster to take there. Does it successfully. Game's coming to life. 8 minutes to the break. Here's Kevin Ellis. Tony Thornley playing for a jersey for next week. Cassidy involved in the tackle. The game's waking up. Roland Phillips having a big afternoon. Ball is 2 metres inside the Wigan half. Here's Ellis. Long ball, Shelford. Longer ball, Penny. Mark Foster, left wing. Slick handling, good defence. So the ball will go midfield. 2 Wigan tacklers involved there. It's kick time once again. Kelly Shelford chips the defence nicely, looks for support, unloads. Well, there's a great effort at keeping the ball alive. However, it's a turnover possession for Wigan.
There'll be more excitement in the last 10 minutes than in the previous 20, and a lot of the players been well inside the Wigan half. Cassidy looking somewhat shaken there as he gets up from that tackle. And once again, Wigan relying on strength and drive. Force the way forward. Once again, it's one man, Dennis Betts, powering his way forward. And Wigan have driven the ball a good 40 yards and one man at a time. Now Martin Dermott out to Crompton. Crompton going to get his line moving, I think, now, as Wigan trying to make the break, and good tackling snuffs them out cleanly. Wigan just managing to pierce into the half as Cassidy straightens up, runs into trouble, goes down in the final tackle. Martin Dermott holding it, sends a long pass across. Wigan keeping the ball moving. Little overhead kick by Bell. Bell chasing it, but it's well covered by Warrington.
Well, Lee Penny has been saving the day so far in this exciting second quarter of the first half at Wilderspool. He was on the job again there, just as well too. So Warrington in possession, 18 metres from their own try line. It's Ellis for Shelford. Shelford goes central and loads for Mike Gregory, who unloads. Well, Warrington trying to be exciting. One of these passes will stick eventually and it will look good. Meanwhile, it's a scrum down advantage for Wigan.
Yes, Wigan's feed 10 metres inside the Warrington half. Warrington trying to keep the ball alive there. Just didn't come off as Crompton feeds, gets it out, moves it on to Johnson. Johnson, a long, wide pass onto Line, and Line is well tackled, low and efficiently. Little dummy from Bell. Bell sidestepping his way. He's also taking a classic tackle, and there's no Wigan player there. Just managed to flick it out, turn back inside. And Wigan were a little bit slow there at getting behind the play of the ball. Dermott now to Crompton. Crompton holding it. And he hesitated, and that was an infirmary pass he gave Dennis Betts, and Dennis Betts dropped it. Warrington with it then.
Thanks, John. Paul Williamson disappearing in the tackle. Underneath Gildart and Crompton. Mike Gregory galloping up the middle. Back in the first team after his layoff. Getting a big round of applause there. Thursfield acting half. Here's Kevin Ellis, misses out Shelford for Roland Phillips. Ball is within the Wigan half. Bit of a anywhere ball there. It's Mike Gregory once again. Feeds inside. Thursfield keeps it alive. It's Kevin Ellis. Options disappeared quickly there for Ellis. A definite buzz now about the Warrington performance. Clock's ticking round towards the half. Here's Kelly Shelford. Now in the 36th minute, Shelford's still alive. Barry John Mather on the tackle. Ball is at the quarter. Warrington looking to square the game. Mark Hilton. Well, if that ball had been taken, there was a definite try going begging. Mr. Cummings is on the job. Will I believe award the scrum down advantage to Wigan?
Well, Wigan already had the ball. He's given the scrum down with Wigan's put in, but Warrington started to knock a few holes in the Wigan defence at the moment. Ball coming out at the side of the tunnel. Crompton to feed again on the 10-metre line. Puts it in, put it in the set, long, wide pass out, and Warrington penalised for offside at that scrum. Be a bit of relief that for Wigan, with Dean Bell calling over Andy Farrell to kick down the Warrington left wing. Wigan then in possession, starting with a tap, 10 metres from the halfway line. Cassidy pushing his way forward. Wigan playing very safe, stereotype kind of football. Forwards keeping it very tight among themselves. And to Farrell, Farrell driving hard. Dermot wanting a quick play of the ball. Dermot getting it moving on to Crompton. Crompton a long wide ball out to Bell. Bell trying to force his way inside. It's up in the air, then bounced down. Jason Robinson to Crompton. Crompton, short one. Wigan running cross field. Warrington moving well into the Wigan line and pushing them back, not letting them gain any ground as we come up for the last battle. Crompton did well to take that. Joe Lydon hoists it for Warrington. Bill.
Lee Penny taking on the full in his own in-goal area. Gives us a tap restart at the quarter line. Will consult the onboard computer. We're in the 38th minute. Tackle breaking out midfield. Warrington looking to get back on equal terms. That's Gary Sanderson. Sanderson playing the ball for Thursfield. Here's Ellis. Roland Phillips once again. Betts and Cassidy combine. End of the run. Here's Paul Cullen. Looks at Tony Thornley. Keeps possession. Breaks the half. Cassidy on the tackle. Lee Penny acting half. Kevin Ellis. Kelly Shelford going to the boot. Well-timed kick. Big pressure there upon Danny Ellison. Well, offside. Match official quite correct. It's a penalty for Wigan.
Bit of a let-off there. That was a nice kick there by Shelford. And Joe Lydon, cool as ever, slots it into touch. Gildart taking on the defenders. Crompton waiting first pass, gets it onto Cassidy. Cassidy, no intention of passing. Martin Dermot in the dying minutes onto Dennis Betts. Dennis Betts gives a dummy, but he's running cross field. An easy target for being tackled. Farrell. Wigan trying to crack the defence, and there's no gap at all for them to go through. Crompton looking for support, and Wigan drop the ball, and so we'll scrum down with the Warrington feed. Bill?
Thanks, John. First half drawing to a close now here. I suppose you can say that Wigan have had the lion's share of the possession. Warrington have had the moments, notably Rob Myler in the 20th minute. However, there's Kelly Shelford. Big tackle upon Shelford. Dean Bell. Two Kiwi internationals together there. That's Williamson. Mike Gregory. Mike Gregory still going. Finally disappears under Farrell and Betts. Big run from Mike Gregory there. Thursfield for Mark Hilton. You can hear the calls of the players probably on RFX microphone. Plays being called left and right. Still a case of deadlock in midfield. There's Cullen. So Warrington dropping back then in possession. Last minute now. Here's Gary Sanderson. Takes a big shot from Farrell there. It is kick time for Brian Johnson's men. Here's Ellis, goes to the boot, kicks into the pocket. Ball well covered by Danny Ellison on his first team debut. Here's John.
Ellison running it out. Goes down, ran it out quite efficiently, and Wigan in a very poor line out there from that play of the ball. Robinson having to come in to the aid of his forwards, plays it to himself forward and gains another good 15 metres of ground. Very alert, very alive then, Jason Robinson, which some of the other players weren't. Wigan trying to force the way through onto Dennis Betts. Dennis Betts knocking them off, can't get it back inside. Panaper onto Johnson, Johnson to Crompton. Crompton holding it, a long wide pass onto Cassidy, has Bell with him. Bell trying to batter his way through, is well tackled. Referee signals it's the last one. Joe Lydon holding it, hoists a high one. Myler getting under it and takes it well. A good play by Myler.
Rob Myler, safe as houses at the back. There is the half-time hooter. We played 2 minutes of stoppage time. The only try in the first half, coming after 27 minutes from Barry John Mather, gives us a half-time score of 4-0. Here's John to sum up.
Well, I think the score is indicative of the first half. It was close, it was tight. There wasn't an awful lot in it. Wigan had just a slight advantage territorially and have just a slight advantage in the fact that they've got the one and only try that has been scored. One of the both sides have tackled extremely well, and one of the interesting things has been the way Mike Gregory has come back after that awful injury and has been most effective and most useful on the field. Half-time then, Warrington 0, Wigan 4. Well, 40 minutes to go to decide the Locker Cup, and it will be Wigan from left to right, and so Warrington would probably get the first touch of the ball now. The referee has sorted it out with his officials and the talent keepers, and it looks as if it's going to be Crompton to restart the game. Tries a long one, bouncing awkwardly into the in-goal area, and it's Warrington then to bring the ball away.
Thanks, John. Yeah, Warrington coming away there in possession, finding themselves only one try down in this Locker Cup game, thanks to sponsors Locker International for their long association with this worthy cause. Meanwhile, Mike Gregory, wearing 14, takes a tackle there from Betts, wearing 11. There's a run from acting half, John Thursfield, I believe. Getting a round of applause from the supporters in front of the Brian Bevan stand. Roland Phillips strides into the Wigan half. Kick time already. Look for Shelford or Ellis to lift the ball. It will be Kiwi international Kelly Shelford. Chips up. Over to John.
Thank you, Wigan. 5 metres out. I've made at least one substitute. I see Hall is on the field. I think Martin Dermott is off. And Warrington coming in quickly, pinning Wigan down. Wigan held near their own line. Robinson again bringing the ball away up to the 10-metre line, and Warrington lying on, coming in quickly, coming in hard, and Wigan caught from acting half back, just managed to get the pass in. And there's still a lot of vigour in this game. Dennis Betts made a good long run, a good clearing run, but Wigan go down in the last battle. Crompton putting the kick in behind the defence, and it's rolling for Penny.
Lee Penny then takes possession, looks at Foster, goes outside, leaves his man stranded. Robinson effects a tackle though eventually, assisted by ex-Warrington scrum half Crompton. Thursfield throws infield. Shelford, Mark Foster crops up midfield. Gildart involved in the tackle. Everything needs to be stepped up again then. Mike Gregory looks to do just that. Takes a 3-man Wigan tackle. 4th tackle coming up. Ball will be moved for Kevin Ellis. We'll look at Shelford. Feeds inside for Cullen. Lee Penny in the line. Sound defence from the Riversiders then. There's Roland Phillips. Unloads. It's Mike Gregory. Midfield. Lee Penny again in possession. Tackled by Martin Hall, wearing 15. Penny playing the ball. There's Shelford, one of his little chips. How many times did we see that last year? Shelford unable to take possession, commits a knock-on. It's a turnover, possession for the visitors.
Well, Warrington have put in 1 or 2 neat little kicks there. Not always coming off, but it caused a surprise. The Wigan defence had to hesitate to see where that ball was going to bounce. Hall handing it inside. Solid defence is holding Wigan as Hall trying to get the Wigan team moving. Almost through the gap there, but feet disappear. Hall onto Mather. Mather coming through strongly. Good running by Mather. He's still on his feet. He has support. Gets his pass in, and Panama can't take it. Well, that was a good break. by Barry John Mather. Paniper did the right thing, just couldn't quite take it, and so will scrum down with a Warrington feed, Bill.
Well, super break there, Barry John Mather, running like a winger. How'd you like to tackle him on a Sunday afternoon? However, Ellis feeding, eventually, puts the ball in. Warrington coming away then, ball's at the quarter. It's Lee Penny. Ball seems to be following him about at the moment in the second half. Takes a tackle there from Dean Bell. Bound for the Auckland Warriors. Here's Mark Forster. Super tackle upon him, Sam Panapa. Well, bit of a mix-up. Thursfield cleans up. Here's Paul Cullen, former Crossfields player. Cullen tackled. Mike Cassidy on the tackle. Bit of lying on. Match officials letting it go. Gary Sanderson, 8 metres from the half. Weather perfect for rugby league here at Wilderspool Stadium. Mike Gregory, tackled by Dennis Betts. Gregory playing the ball then. It's unloaded, it's Shelford, long ball. Rob Myler goes to the boot. Big Rose coming in, would be an exceptional try. Looked to me like there was a knock-on committed. Well, match official on top of the job, letting it go back to John.
Wigan a little fortunate there with that dangerous break down the Warrington right wing. A good kick, Wigan had to feel it right on their own line, and they're being pinned down. Wigan now back, and they're very tight bunch together, and they're finding it extremely difficult to bring the ball away. They're being caught round to play the ball. Grovelling the way forward, go down in what is the last tackle, lining up for the kick. Crompton belts it down the field and gives it back to Warrington.
Well, we've got a game on. Second half, Wilderspool Stadium. It's 0-4. Lee Penny charges across the half, takes the tackle. Brian Johnson must have had some strong words for his troops in the dressing room at half-time. Certainly coming out fired up. Let's hope it's the year of the Wolf for the Warrington club. Here's Thornley. Unloads, it's Cullen. Unloads for Ellis. Mark Foster has space. Takes the tackle. Finds himself in touch. Warrington are buzzing back to John.
Yeah, the Wigan cover came across well now and forced Warrington into touch, but Warrington are on top in the opening minutes of the second half, and it will be Wigan to feed with Hall taking over from Martin Dermot as hooker, and he still gets the ball out, and Wigan moving across. Dean Bell moving it inside. Wigan forcing the way forward. Martin Hall coming over for the play of the ball. Dennis Betts just handing it on. Ball not flowing very fluently along the line as Hall has a little run from half back. Wigan force the way over the halfway line. And it's still using the strength, trying to batter the way through. Mather coming over on the last tackle, comes to Crompton. Crompton kicks behind the defence, and it bounces back, and so it will be a rollover.
Well, costly error there from Martin Crompton. Allows Warrington the luxury of 6 tackles. 8 metres short of the half. It's Foster for Mark Hilton. Hilton goes strong and central, makes the half. Pitch at Wilderspool in pristine condition. Here's Mark Foster having a run from acting half again. Cassidy and Farrell involved in the tackle. Thursfield wearing 16. Throws inside for Ellis. Here's Kelly Shelford looking for the option. Ellis provides it. Dennis Betts does great, snuffs out the move. So Warrington then, still 4 points down. Roland Phillips has gone short side. Picks up good yardage. Warrington stacking up deep left, plenty of personnel available to hit the ball hard and late. Here's Shelford looking for the runner. It's Lee Penny, has Foster outside him. Penny goes inside, ball's gone to ground. It's possession for Wigan again.
And Joe Lyne has gone off, and Craig has come on, and it's Craig who got that loose ball then as Mather turning and twisting, doesn't get very far. Craig waiting behind to play the ball inside to Crompton. Crompton on to Robinson. Robinson going to take them off, tries to straighten up, runs into trouble, has to die with it. Hall from behind to play the ball on to Cassidy. Cassidy putting his shoulder in, can't break through. Moving it across. Dennis Metz, a long pass. Good tackling, puts Andrew Farrell down. On to Crompton. Crompton going to kick behind the defence, being chased by Myler.
Well, Rob Myler in possession, taking that Martin Crompton kick. Myler coming out, is met by Crompton, first man there. Good chase from him. Myler playing the ball for Ellis. Feeds Penny. One-man stuff mainly at the moment from the Warrington team. They need to stitch a few passes together. So Thursfield, Matt Hilton. Big tackle upon Hilton, involving Hall. Short side move, Mike Gregory feeds Tony Thornley. Thornley's going, Thornley almost away. Mike Cassidy just about keeping hold of him by his fingernails. Kevin Ellis. That's Paul Cullen. Cullen spots half a gap, attacks it. Well, it's kick time, 12 metres inside the Wigan half. Warrington may well try and run the ball, even though it is kick time. Shelford's gone to the boot, needs a favourable bounce, doesn't get it. Dean Bell takes the tackle.
Dean Bell covering that dangerous little kick there. Took it cleanly, now Wigan trying to bring it away. Go down almost on the 20-metre line. Coming down the narrow side of the field. On to Mather. Mather's going inside. Farrell running strongly. Giving them the dummy. Turned it inside and he's passed to Warrington.
Well, full marks for Lee Penny there. What a defensive job he's just done. Mark Hilton playing the ball. It is Lee Penny. Lee Penny's got a yard. He's going. Looks at Dean Bell. Super work there. 17 Andrew Craig on the tackle with number 3 Dean Bell. Thursfield, Shelford, Cullen, Gregory. Gregory unloads a great ball. Takes possession again. He's away. It's Rob Myler. He's got the space. Cuts inside. Tremendous running rugby league there. Super defence. Warrington with the foot on the gas. It's Kevin Ellis. It's Shelford, Thornley, Dean Bell on the tackle. Could be a bit of a high shot. Well, offside is awarded. Tremendous running rugby league there. All started with a Mike Gregory burst. Warrington keeping hold of the ball, have put enough pressure on the Wigan defensive line to force the penalty. Kick for touch then, much to the delight of the Warrington supporters in the Fletcher end away to our left. So Shelford prods the ball into touch. I'll try and have a look at the onboard computer. We're in the 12th minute. Here's Phillips, head down, going central, shrugs off a Wigan defender. Roland Phillips still going. Look at that for an effort. Roland Phillips will not die. Massive round of applause for a massive effort. Runners everywhere for the Warrington club. Inches short. Paul Cullen playing the ball. Here's Kevin Ellis, long ball, Kelly Shelford. Shelford looking for the option, none there. Well, Dennis Betts doing a marvellous defensive job. Warrington must turn this pressure into points. Mike Gregory on the surge. Thursfield acting half. Thursfield's gone alone. Nothing doing there. Tackle's being used up. It is kick time. Warrington must make it pay now. Interception. Here's John.
Well, that was tremendous defence by Wigan, and he can't get the ball inside. He's thrown it down. Couldn't get his pass inside. Warrington threw everything except the kitchen sink at Wigan then, and the defence held well. Ellison breaking through, got an intercept right on his own try line, took it up to the halfway line, and just as he was being tackled, tried to get it inside to the support, couldn't do so. Wigan hacked it on and into touch, and more substitutions are being made, but this game is alive now.
Well, Bob Jackson has come onto the field for the hard-working Roland Phillips. Verbal pat on the back coming up here for Lee Penny, saving the day again. Kelly Shelford's alive and going. It is Mark Forster, looks at Robinson, takes the tackle, keeps the ball in field magnificently. Lee Penny's going. Tremendous effort there. Andrew Johnson wearing 6 on the tackle. At long last, we've got a game on. It's Gary Sanderson looking for runners. Mick Cassidy on the tackle. In the 14th minute of the second half then, still 0-4. It's Ellis, Mike Gregory. Mike Gregory's gone. Mike Gregory striding out and on his comeback. scores a magnificent try in the 54th minute. It's been a long time coming. Look at him milking the crowd. Have another look at that on your video. What a tremendous sight for rugby league supporters everywhere. I'll let John sum that up for you.
Well, that was a great try, and it couldn't have happened to a better fellow than Mike Gregory. He's had untold trouble, he's had untold handicaps, and he's fought back so grimly and so determinedly. And in this second half, Warrington have been full of fire and have been full of vigour and full of ginger, and it has paid off with Mike Gregory scoring a fantastic try. And so, well, referee stopping the clock while Wigan made the substitution. I think it's Sam Panaper who's going to go off, and it will be Martin Crompton to give possession to Warrington. Bill?
Thanks, John. Just a word for Mike Gregory there. I've been down here watching the A-team in the academy, and who's been round here all on his own, wet nights, jogging round, doing his weights? Mike Gregory for 2 years. All the knocks he's had, he's come back, scored a great try. Good luck to him. Meanwhile, Lee Penny's just felt the force of Dean Bell there. Big style. Here it is. Mike Gregory attacking the quarter line. Correction, it's Bob Jackson. They've both got similar hairstyles, shall we say. Ball goes midfield. Gary Chambers is back on. Correction, it's Mark Hilton. Commentator's getting carried away. There's Gary Sanderson. Well hit there by Martin Hall. Warrington then getting back into the game. It's 4 points each. Kick time now for Brian Johnson's men. Ellis will feed Kelly Shelford, who puts in the kick.
Coming to Robinson. Determined little character, but he's well tackled and bounced down as Dean Bell comes back to act in half-back. Dean Bell running cross-field, knocking his own players out of the way, and Wigan have bunched very badly in the middle of the field. There's nobody out on the wing, and that's the way that Wigan went. Hall, Wigan taking it down to where there's very few players. Players all lined out on this side of the field as Martin Hall comes over out to Crompton. Crompton moving it across to Mather. And Mather well taken, snatched out of the air. Crompton putting in the kick behind the defence. Penny coming across for it.
Well, Lee Penny's having a big afternoon. He's done nothing wrong this far. Saved his club a couple of times. Sprints out, takes a tackle from Cassidy, 12 metres from the line. I can see opposite our commentary position Tony Rothwell for the Warrington club, holding a number 7 board, so Kevin Ellis will be going for the rest shortly. Meanwhile, tackle at the quarter, involving Ian Gildart. Here's Hilton, sprinting central, dragging defenders with him. Betson Johnson involved in the tackle. Here is Kevin Ellis, looking for options, finds one in the shape of Paul Cullen. Cullen playing the ball. Here's try-scoring hero, Mike Gregory, unloads for Bob Jackson. Jackson ex-Cronulla and Penrith beats Paul Cullen, ex-Crossfields. Super Rugby League played there. Simon Horton wearing 16 in the tackle. Shelford's gone to the boot. Well, what will our match official give? Allows play on.
Well, Wigan fortunate to get possession from that kick through. Crompton now moving it in field. And good tackling, snuffs out the Wigan move, and Wigan extremely disorganised at the moment, and I think it's due to the pressure that's being put on them by Warrington. They've got the Wigan team a little bit demoralised at the moment. And Wigan drop the ball, start to make mistakes when you're a little bit harassed. Warrington with it.
In the shape of Paul Cullen wearing 13. Attack will be launched then. Look for runners midfield. Kevin Ellis calling the shots. It is Ellis. He's on his own. Takes the tackle. Simon Horton on the tackle, wearing 16. 2 Warrington subs warming up far side. Look for changes momentarily. Here's Mike Gregory, former Great Britain skipper. Takes a 3-man tackle involving Mather. Ball will come our way. That's Gary Sanderson. Cassidy on the tackle. Warrington getting closer and closer then. 14 metres out, it's Ellis. Ellis going alone, trying to spin out the tackles, unable to do so. Entire Warrington 3-quarter unit overrun him there. Maybe a drop goal coming, not sure. Bob Jackson thought about it. Ball has struck a Wigan player. Should be 6 more goals. Thornley takes possession. Well, I do not agree with our match official from Witness. Here's John.
Well, I think the referee was right, because the Wigan player, although it hit the Wigan player, he had no chance of getting possession from it. And so it was the handover, Gildart to bring it away. Paul having a little run from behind to play the ball. Gildart to Crompton. Crompton looking for support. Wigan moving it across onto Mather. Mather straightening up. Makes a break and hands it on. Wigan coming into the middle. And the referee bringing them back for the forward pass. Was slipped quite nicely, but the referee right in line with it gives the forward pass, and so it will be Warrington to beat.
Thanks, John. Steve Griffiths and Andy Bennett coming onto the park, replacing Kevin Ellis and Mark Forster. So Steve Griffiths has been the star of the 18 show on many occasions. I've always enjoyed watching him play. Here's a chance for him to perform on a bigger stage. Feeds a scrum, takes possession, goes off on the run, has half a gap, and he's attacking it. Stevens on the tackle, wearing 14. Shelford acting half. Here's Cullen. Paul Cullen taking the tackle. Here's Gary Sanderson. Sanderson tackled again. It's Stevens wearing 14. There's Griffiths. Shelford. Paul Williamson unloads for Penny. Penny's away, going midfield. Super run there. Here's Mike Gregory. Mike Gregory's got the try line in his sights. Bob Jackson scores. Tremendous try there. Mike Gregory combining with Bob Jackson midfield. Gregory drew the defence. Jackson backs up, crashes over in the 61st minute. Here's John to sum up.
Well, Mike Gregory scored one and made one. He came through so strong and so forcefully there. And Bob Jackson, who looks rather like him, was by his side, and there's no doubt that this half has been Warrington's half. They've got the 2 tries to put them 8 points to 4 in the lead, and what should be a simple kick a few metres to the right of the post. Wigan 4 and never really been in the hunt since they changed the formation in this second half. 8 points to 4 to Warrington. The simple straight kick. Lifts it high and lifts it through. Warrington then well into the lead. Wigan 4, Warrington 10. And Warrington with the tails up now. Warrington a bit of a bogey side for Wigan. They've won a lot of league matches against Wigan, even though Wigan have been doing so well in these last seasons. In the league games, they can be quite happy with the performances in the cup ties that they've not been able to beat Wigan, but Wigan going under at the moment in this one.
Well, I'm not so sure about Wigan going under just yet. Warrington are definitely starting to buzz. Jackson and Gregory combine great style there. Meanwhile, Paul Cullen has just busted the quarter. Here's Mike Gregory. Correction, I've got to sort these two out. It was in fact Bob Jackson. Difficult to tell them apart from my angle. Big effort supplied right below us in our commentary position, Gary Sanderson. Here's Griffiths. Roland Phillips back on the field. Performed good style before he was subbed earlier on. Bob Jackson. Jackson taking a high-ish shot from Mike Cassidy. Second half has been miles better than the first half for both teams. Griffiths speeds on. Roland Phillips, former Neath RU man, Welsh B international. Takes the shots, midfield. Thursfield acting half. It's Kelly Shelford, got a long-range dropper at Central Park earlier in the season. And he's just got another one, giving us a score. Wigan 4, Warrington 11. Here's John.
Well, Warrington beginning to rub Wigan's nose, isn't it? They've been on top for all of this second half, and they're deservedly 11 points to 4 in front as Martin Crompton once more to restart the game. Belts it right up to the try line, and Warrington come again.
Thanks, John. Yeah, Warrington definitely surging. Looking good, more than a full score in the game. I'll consult the clock. 64 of 80 minutes played now. Dean Bell getting involved in the tackle there. Paul Cullen in possession of the ball. Here's Thursfield. Takes a short run, gives his forwards time to regroup. No better way, of course, for any club, whether it's a friendly or not, to start with a victory. Bob Jackson's rampaging up the middle again. Thursfield feeds Mike Gregory, feeds Roland Phillips, feeds Gregory. Have a look at this. Lee Penny pops a ball up. Williamson feeds Myler. Myler feeds inside. Well, the ball's gone to ground. What an exciting passage of play that was. Possession for Wigan.
And Wigan were being run a little bit ragged there. They're going to need to calm it down. Get it together as Farrell goes up, takes it over the halfway line. Well, that was lively, attractive football from Warrington. Hall to Crompton. Crompton bringing Robinson into the game. Robinson straightening up, runs into defenders. Hall trying to get Wigan moving. Wigan being forced back into middle, into the cover defence. Warrington had a lot of possession this half and used it well, have turned it into points. Wigan now to Bell. Bell on to Cassidy. Cassidy gets it out. Wigan, nice run, going inside, going for the line. Good running by Wigan, the support there. Looking to get it out to the wing. Wigan, and good cover defence by Warrington. And now it's Wigan's turn to keep it alive as Crompton goes for the line. And it goes down. Referee signalling, there's no more tackles for Wigan. And it's moved inside, Wigan along the line. They have a big overlap if they can keep it going. Out onto the wing and going for the line, and Wigan are going to get it in the corner. Allison finishing off well. Wigan attacked well down the right wing, almost over in the right wing position, and they had a massive overlap as they swung the ball out onto the far side, and Allison finishes well to make it now Wigan 8, Warrington 11. Neither side giving up the ghost, they're still sticking to the task. Great rivalry between these two towns. Sanderson, who started the game, went off, is back on again. Players being smelled, not kept up. It's probably hard work out there. In spite of the wet summer, the ground is very hard at Shelford. Shallow on, Wigan with it. On to Mather. Mather runs at the tacklers. Hall waiting for the play of the ball. Hall a short one. Mather back on the field. Hall again, bringing it away from acting half-back. Dennis Betts coming strongly onto it. Wigan line very shallow. Hall hands it on, and Wigan using the strength to drive the way forward. Long pass coming across. Hanaper trying to go inside, goes down on the halfway line in the last tackle. Hall onto Crompton, who's going to put the kick in. Myler has it covered. Referee says it's come back as Myler runs it out, and Myler runs into Bally.
Well, Rob Myler there, little juggling act, getting away with it. Steve Griffiths caught in possession. Paul Stevens on the tackle. Warrington have a gap midfield. Thursfield trying to exploit the gap. Andy Bennett acting half. Ball's gone right for Kelly Shelford. Bob Jackson. Jackson looking for runners, finds Kelly Shelford, who could do just about anything from there. He's going on a run, unloads for Myler. Lee Penny's cropping up everywhere. Another exciting Warrington attack there, fast hands. Players cropping up in support. Here's Gary Chambers going central. Gildart on the tackle for Mike Gregory. Gregory sees a gap in field. Warrington attacking hard. That's Steve Griffiths. It's a handover. Well, superb handling from the Warrington club there. Possession for Wigan.
Wigan got a long way to bring it as Jason Robinson runs cross field, straightens up, they can't get through the gap. He threatened so much. Now Wigan having to bring it away from acting half-back, and they bring it away well. Wigan coming away from the support, running over towards the touchline. Hall to Crompton. Crompton holding it, bringing it back inside to Mather. Wigan ploughing the way forward. Out it goes to Crompton. Crompton a dummy, nice break by Crompton. Lobs it back up inside. Wigan keeping it moving as Hall gets it going. But they're like bees round the jam pot there. Warrington as they come in to defend. Hall gets it out to Crompton, and Crompton hoists it behind the Warrington defence.
Once again, Warrington starting from deep. Rob Myler's fed Lee Penny, feeds Andy Bennett, who has extreme pace. Bennett sets off on the run, unable to evade Barry John Mather. Here's Lee Penny again. Mather's picked up a knock. Lee Penny takes a tackle 10 metres inside the Warrington half. There's Thursfield, Gary Chambers. Unloads a great ball for Thursfield. Steve Griffiths looks for runners. There's Cullen. Well, there's a ball gone to ground. Promising attack building up there. Bit of anxiety. Great skills in the three-quarters will result in a scrum down. Back to John.
And the game beginning to take its toll a little bit. Barry John Mather limping and Thornley there hurt a bit, but he's back on his feet and breathing. And it will be Wigan to feed, and he put the ball in before the Wigan pack was down. Hanging in the pack, Wigan get it out. Long pass coming across, the run around being done. And that's good tackling. Crowd loved that one. The Warrington supporters loved that. Dean Bell coming hard and straight. Mean Dean coming in hard. Martin Hall waiting behind to play the ball. Johnson a little bit unsure as to what he should do with it, and that nearly caught Wigan on the hop. Mather coming strongly, running in field, absolutely buried under a mass of bodies. And Wigan in attack, still alive very deep as it comes out. Crompton moving it out wide. Comes on to Bell. Bell's thrown it into touch, and so Warrington still leading, still one field on top with their put-in.
Thanks to John. Have a look at the watch. We're in the 73rd of 80 minutes. Score remains 11-8 in favour of the home team, Brian Johnson's Warrington. John Doherty having his first look at his more or less first team squad. Plenty for him to think about. Meanwhile, I believe that's Andy Bennett playing the ball for John Thursfield. Mike Gregory, Gary Chambers, rampaging central. Thursfield's up on a run. Feeds the ball inside. Match official allowing play to develop. Ball's coming out of H with Kelly Shelford. There's Bob Jackson going central. Has Martin Hall round his neck. Earns a round of applause. We're within 12 metres of the Wigan line then, the Warrington club. Roland Phillips shrugs off defenders. Attacks the line. Will be tackled in goal eventually. Everybody's getting involved in the push. Match officials right there. Close call for the Wigan defence. Roland Phillips getting a huge round of applause once again from the supporters gathered under the Fletcher end away to our left. It's a 10-metre scrum. Griffiths will feed. If Warrington could get another try on the board, should wrap up. The Locker Cup for them. Shelford, long ball Penny. Penny looks inside. Ankle tap job there. Rowe comes up from the Warrington faithful then. Shelford feeds Gregory. Short ball, Paul Cullen has crossed. Match official consults the touch judges there. Mike Gregory once again at the hub of that scoring effort. Paul Cullen crashes over, should make the game safe. Here's John.
Well, there was a lot of pressure coming there from Warrington. They got over the Wigan try line, and I think all the substitutes were on the field as well to hold them up, and so we came back to the 10-metre line from the scrum. Ball was moved well from the base of the scrum, and it was well finished. So Warrington look as if they're going to get a bit of silver on the sideboard Wigan never got the game together in this second half. They were the more dominant force in the first half, but in the second half, Warrington have got right on top, and the score is a true indication of the way this second half has gone. Wigan 8, Warrington 15.
Well, we've had 5 tries this afternoon at Wilderspool Stadium. Been an entertaining game, absorbing stages lots of the time, lots of big work from the forwards. And when you look at both the teams on view and you think of the blokes who aren't out there, who should be or will be next week, planning to whet the appetite of the rugby league supporter. Meanwhile, here's Steve Griffiths, Gary Chambers central. Warrington lacking the services today of Greg Mackey, main playmaker. Jonathan Davis hasn't appeared. They've got to be slotted into the team for next week. Many names absent from the Wigan lineup, notably Sean Edwards. So if you're watching this video, get out and watch your teams next week. It should be even better. Warrington taking the ball into the Wigan half. That's Roland Phillips, hasn't put a foot wrong this afternoon. Warrington are at it again. That's Steve Griffiths. Griffiths goes. I am hoping that will be signalled as a try. Well, we've got a bit of a consternation between the match officials. Steve Griffiths deserves a try for the efforts. I think we're going to get a penalty to the Wigan outfit. Back in midfield, not sure what for. Match official has said he's held up. Well, that was what happened before the try we saw a moment ago. Big verbal pat on the back for Steve Griffiths, though, showing good pace and tenacity. Will now feed the scrum. I'm looking at the clock. Less than 3 minutes. Warrington surging again. Kelly Shelford feeds Griffiths. Griffiths takes the tackle. Andrew Johnson on the tackle. He's had a good afternoon for the Wigan club. Roland Phillips deserves a try. Roland Phillips has the try. Well, Warrington are starting to run away with the game. Roland Phillips has been in the shot window for the latter part of last season. He's had a big afternoon today. He's enjoyed that try. Here's John to sum up.
Well, the Wigan defence has wilted and has collapsed completely. The power and the strength and the determination of this Warrington side have proved far too much for these new boys who've been introduced into the Wigan side, and eventually the tale has been told, and what looked like being a tight, close game at one period has now turned into almost a rout in this last 10 minutes as Warrington have hammered away at the Wigan line. Another easy conversion, and no mistake, if it goes over in between the posts. And so as we come to these last seconds, it's Wigan 8, Warrington 21. Warrington in this second half beating Wigan in almost every department. Crompton then had a lot of practice at kicking off this afternoon, hoping to fight his way back, and a bit of a struggle on his hand at short one. Warrington again in possession.
Well, thanks, John. We've got a score on the board. 21 points to 8. I didn't expect that. I'm just looking down the Wigan team, John. I'll pick out my man of the match for Wigan and ask you to do the same for the Warrington club shortly. Just looking at the Wigan team, quite a few blokes have worked hard this afternoon, and this might be a bit of a surprise for you, but on I think it's his first game today for the Wigan club. I've been well impressed with Andrew Johnson, and he gets my vote.
Well, the blazing thing for me this afternoon has been the comeback, and a great comeback it has been by Mike Gregory. He's been closely run by Jackson, but Mike Gregory has had a fantastic afternoon. At the time when it looked as if we had stalemate, it was Mike Gregory who got the try, and then he made the next one, and Wigan were in all sorts of trouble. He's made a tremendous recovery after the most dreadful illnesses and injuries, and one after another, and he's shown great character in coming back, and I think he's had a magnificent game this afternoon. Cassidy now driving his way forward almost up to the halfway line. Hall. Crompton worked hard. Can he dummy it up to Farrell? Farrell having a side step, going for the line. Throws a wide pass out onto Robinson. Robinson beats one man. He's gone for the corner. And what does the touch consider? We can't see him from here. And the try has been given in the corner. Jason Robinson finishing off well. A bad pass. It hit the deck before it got to him. And he did a nice swivel there, turned round and showed a lot of strength to get in at the corner to make it Wigan 12, Warrington 21, salvaging a little bit of pride for Wigan. A good break down the centre of the field by Andrew Farrell. He went well, flung a wide, very wide pass out, and Jason Robinson finished extremely well. Well, both coaches were looking at using this game as a chance to look to see what up-and-coming talent there is with them. There are a lot of new players on both sides. A picnic. Some of them were introduced last season. People like Cassidy and Farrell and Mather have brought in a lot more new lads. And there goes the whistle for the end. Are you going to wrap it up, Bill?
Well, thanks to John Dermott. Came across from Central Park, helped me out on the commentary today. We've had, let's have a look, 7 tries in this Locker Cup game. Lots of commitment has been put in. Start of the show for me and John was Mike Gregory. Both these teams, of course, have been using today's game to give the players a run before the real business starts next week. So as rugby league supporters, no matter who you support, get out and support your teams. They need your money. I hope you've enjoyed watching this Micron video presentation. And from me and John from Wilderspool, this is Bill Stewartson signing off.